think it's time for it to start. Now, so last week we discussed the general principles and some theories in cognitive semantics. Okay, we are going to talk about one very popular theory that has made cognitive linguistics successful. Okay, conceptual metaphor and conceptual metonymy, and there's also one chapter dedicated to this topic in the textbook. Before we begin, do you have questions or comments about what we did last time? Now, how many people here watch the lectures of Professor Leykov in our learning system? Nobody? Really? Did you do it? No. That's too sad. Okay, you do not read and you do not watch. Okay, what do I do? Now, Professor Leykov is now teaching at the University of Berkeley in California, and he's credited for the conceptual metaphor theory. In his department, he's also offering cognitive science courses that train people for a lot of interesting jobs, like for people who work in Google, for people who work for NASA, people who work in language teaching, people who do counseling. Later on, we'll look at that lists up career options. When you explore or when you are trained in cognitive science. For now, let's come back to what we are talking about, conceptual metaphor. It's useful for us to discuss this in the connection with the figures of speech that you have already learned. Where did you learn about these figures of speech? English literature, okay, right? Right. So these are the different figures of speech: antithesis, euphemism, hyperbole, oxymoron, synecdoche, and they are kinds of devices that add colors to the language that you speak, on the language that you write, right? One important point about them is that they help you to paint a mental picture in the audience. Metaphor and metonymies are also considered as traditional figures of speech that we use to decorate literary texts. In this part of our discussions, we will look at metaphor and metonymy from the light of cognitive linguistics and see how they are different from our traditional view of these two devices. Now, the ideas for metaphors can be really conventional, coming from topics or domains that we are very familiar with for centuries, like time, space. But it can also come from quite recent domains like computers, like technology. We will explore those domains very soon. Now, metaphor and simile are similar in that they both make comparisons. But why simile try to make the comparison explicit? Okay, in metaphor, it's always implicit, right? So when I say Ashin is a tiger, it's a metaphor. I implicitly compare him with a tiger. I mean, he has a very strong personality. He can be very aggressive sometimes, right? But when I say Ashin is like a tiger, okay, it's simile. The difference between simile and metaphor is that in metaphors you have mappings from one domain, which is the human actions, to another domain, the tiger. While in simile, usually you do not have that kind of mapping. And this is one of the questions that I got when I first, study conceptual metaphor. Professors raise these questions. Please tell the difference between conceptual metaphor and simile. Right? So it was a very important exam, and I was lucky to think up a very good situation. Right, this is a simile. I say, your wife is like my wife. Okay, they both cook very well. All right, that's simile. Comparison. Right? That's comparison. But if you say, your wife is my wife, that will be a disaster. You will be in big trouble right away. Serious misunderstanding. Right? While in conceptual metaphor, when you say Ashin is a tiger, and Ashin is like a tiger, there is very similar message that is delivered. And this is the key difference between metaphor, conceptual metaphor, and simile. You got that? Okay. So in simile, there is no, mappings from one domain to the other. Simply comparisons. Now, metaphors in your readings are discussed in two types: conventional metaphors and innovative metaphors. The kinds that cognitive linguistics explore is conventionalized metaphors. By conventionalized, we mean that the source domain and the target domains are those that are familiar to us, that are conventional. Okay, that's why they get the name conventionalized. So with the metaphor time is space, we have expressions like we have entered the 21st century, so like enter the room. I finished this in 2 hours. Okay, in 2 hours, in a box, in a container. They worked through the night, okay, through space, like fly through the garden, okay, run through the room. Right. We also have metaphors like states are container, right? They are in love, they are in the expressions, they are in troubles, things like that, right? These kinds of metaphors are discussed in cognitive linguistics, and there's a very important book that I showed you last time. Metaphor we live by. I mean, we live with them, we use them every day without awareing that we are using metaphors. The second kind of metaphors are those that are used in literature, and these are actually innovative uses of language that we discussed last time in language trends. Right? Recall what we discussed about partial conditioning by Langacker and the utterance selection theory of William Croft. Now, when you say Julian is the sun, now we do not have two domains. Okay? Instead, what we really mean is that Julius give the sun size to the people around her, make people around her happy, especially Romeo, her lover, for example. So this is an innovative way of using the language, and these are not the kinds of metaphors that we study, because they do not, align with the conceptual processing of domain in our thinking. Now, take a look at this example. Yeah. This is the kind of metaphor that George Lakoff discussed. Ideas are food. And with this metaphor, we can further break down into relevant metaphors of not yet. That's too soon. Okay, too sensitive. It's strange because when I work at this part in the last class, it also goes like that. Okay, jump from one slide to the other, and it makes me think that somebody is sitting there. Scary. Okay, so that class gave me food for thought. She gave us some brain food, right? Ideas of food. And so relevant to this, we can have understanding in digesting something. Take some time to digest that information. Believing is swallowing, right? They swallowed whatever garbage he gave them. Communication is feeding. See, spoon feed, sugar coat, satellite feed. These are from the food domains, and we use these concepts and the ideas to talk about communications. So target is source. That's the formula. Target domain is the source domain. Okay. Now, so just studying a lot of conceptual metaphor can really enrich your writing and your language skills. Right? Can you give me some examples in Vietnamese to demonstrate that human beings tend to have similar conceptual structure and language universals? Now, can you think of some examples in Bài toán khó nuốt. Gì nữa? Ngày xưa thầy toán của thầy hay nói đúng, không có dễ ăn đâu con. Gì nữa? Giải xong cái thầy bảo này dễ như ăn cơm sườn. Đấy. Đấy. Đúng không? Không biết ngày xưa thầy toán, mấy thầy toán có nói các bạn như vậy không? Cái này cháo gà. Right. Easy. Okay. Đúng rồi. Nghe mãi mà chưa có tiêu. Rồi. Rồi gì nữa? Ai mớm cho mày mà mày nói như vậy, đúng không? Mắng bọn con nít ai mớm cho mày. Cái gì? Ăn gì? Ăn trứng ngỗng. Đúng rồi đó. Ăn trứng ngỗng. Xơi trứng ngỗng, đúng không? Rồi cái gì nữa? Cái bài này nó xào qua nấu lại từ mấy quyển sách. Bọn sinh viên giờ nó ma lanh lắm, nó biết mình dùng mấy cái máy mà phát hiện nó chép ở đâu, cái giờ nó tìm cách dịch tới dịch lui, dịch ngược dịch xuôi, nó xào qua nấu lại. Trời, có vậy hả? Vậy dám nói vậy luôn á. Đúng rồi. Cái đó là innovative use chưa có thấy. Đúng rồi, cái này nhai mãi mà không thuộc. Ngày xưa học mấy cái môn triết học hay cái gì đó, nhai mãi mà không thuộc. Hả? Dễ nhân khoai hả? Thế à? Cái gì thầy nhớ đó, hồi thầy mới vào trường sư phạm thấy trên bức tường nó ghi, cái đó không phải vào. Nó ghi cái gì? Gì trai bách khoa như chim anh vũ gì đó, gái sư phạm như cảnh tiểu đỗ gì đó. Đó, xong đó là nói trai sư phạm như củ khoai sùng gì đó. Không phải đã đại khái. Idea cái phụ. Nhưng mà cái đó nó không có relevant, không có trúng lắm phần nào. Nhiều, nếu mà nghĩ tiếp thì nhiều. Phần nào. Cái đó là gọi là language universals, right? What we think in similar patterns across different culture, different speech communities. Right. Now, the mapping principle here is based on resemblance, similarity in thinking patterns. The foods involves being eaten and digested, and ideas being. Thank you. Voice control. Okay, too soon. And ideas being taken and processed in the mind in a very similar way to food. And that similarity lead us to say things like those. Right. Right. Now, let's take a look at another conceptual metaphor that Lakoff discussed. Love is a journey. There's something strange. Okay. No, it must be somebody sitting here. So with love is a journey, we can have ideas like progress in a relationship is moving forward, forward motion, right? So we say they are at the crossroads in a relationship. They are in a dead end relationship. A relationship is a moving object. So we can say the marriage is on the rocks. Marriage is on the rocks. Right? What does it mean to be on the rocks? They're having troubles. Okay, it's not smooth. Right. Relationship has been spinning its wheel for years. I mean, running well. Okay, running well. Be happy with each other for several years. Their marriage has really gone off the track. What does it mean? Yeah, they are having troubles. In the beginning, they plan, okay, we go this way, we build a family like this, okay, like this, okay, like this. I give you all the money that I earn, okay. You will take care of the kids, okay, and all. Okay, so these are the tracks that they plan in the beginning. Now, okay, I keep all the money for myself, okay, and things like those. So you're on the track, having trouble. Right. So love-your journey is okay, understood because um, there are uh, thank you, because there are similarities between the two structure. Um, when you when you are in love with somebody, you seriously okay, set a destination for your life. Okay, it is the kind of person that I want to live with my whole life. Okay, does this person share the same life goals with me? Does this person also want to okay, reach the same goal with me? Like for example, I only want to have a family without kids, for example. If that is your destination or the life goal, then probably you will choose a different partner, right? Um, and okay, just like when you okay make a journey, let's say from here to Nha Trang, okay, so you set a destination. Um, you also need a vehicle to make the journey. It can be a motorbike, a bicycle, a car, bus, right? Um, so in love, that's the relationship between okay, you and your partner. And okay, from here to Nha Trang, some parts of the journey can be very interesting. You see flowers on both sides, okay, a lot of green, okay, fresh air, beautiful beaches, okay, and of course, okay, in some part you see uh, dirty houses on both sides, crowded, okay, streets, yeah, and okay, a lot of noises and things like those. So and also the weather can be terrible in some parts, can be very nice in parts. So that's the same thing in our relationship. Sometimes it can be romantic, very sweet, and sometimes there can be fighting, tears. Okay, and now if you keep thinking like those, you can see there are a lot of elements. Okay, a lot of concepts from love that can be matched with um, elements or concepts in journey, like the lovers, the travelers, okay, the relationship, the vehicles, uh, your life goals, your travel destinations, um, your directions, your okay, aim in life, and the way okay, you go. things like that. Okay. Now, later on, we will look at mapping that Lakoff and Johnson discussed. But for now, let's have a little practice. Now, look at these expressions. Can you suggest conceptual metaphor that motivates these sayings? The health of societies, social ills, sorry for the spelling, social recovery. Nation is in a depression. The head of the society. Social paralysis. Right, for example. Nurse our nation back to health. Something like that. Now, what metaphor do you suggest? Now here, in the source domain, we see health, head, body, a human body, right? Concepts that are used in a human body. You nurse your body, right? The body can be ill, can be paralyzed, can be sick. It has the head, can be in depression. And what is being talked about? What is the target? The society. Okay. So, the metaphor here is society is a living body, a human body, right? And it motivates on these mappings and the thinking, and it helps you to produce language expression like this. Now, again, let's practice, because later on in your textbook, you have similar exercises. Can you identify metaphor for the examples? She fostered the hope that the project could continue. She nourished the hope that he would return. I'm nursing a hope for a better life. So what is the source domain? Nourish the hope, nursing hope. Hope, right? We're talking about hope, right? So we're talking about hope in terms of, foster, nourished, nurse. So like a baby, okay, right? Taking care of a baby, right? So hope is a baby. Do we think like this in Vietnamese? Hope is a baby. Nuôi dưỡng niềm tin, nuôi hy vọng, right? Nuôi hy vọng. Đúng rồi, ấp ủ ước mơ. Right? Ấp ủ ước mơ. Có là nó ầu ơ ước mơ. Right. So, Lakoff defines metaphor as conceptual mapping from the source domain to the target domains. And the source domains are the concepts that are concrete, simple, easy to understand. And they help us to better interpret or understand domains that are more abstract, like love, like marriage, like debate, like arguments. Later we will discuss this. But basically, okay, like what we analyzed a few minutes ago, there's a mappings from one element of the source domain to the target domain, right? Actually, the ideas of domains and mappings come from mathematics. The kinds of the kinds of mapping that you learn in grade 6 or grade 7, right? Các bạn có nhớ hồi lớp hình như lớp 6 lớp 7 thì các bạn cũng có học cái gì ta? Ánh xạ. Đúng không? Hồi đó hình như mình gọi là của một tập giá trị trong một lớp 10 ấy hả? Thầy không biết, cái hồi thầy đi học thầy bứt từng cọng tóc, bứt hói đầu luôn mà không sao mà hiểu được cái định nghĩa của sách lớp 7. Hàm số là một tập hợp những ánh xạ từ miền giá trị x sang miền giá trị y sao cho ứng với một với giá trị y ứng với một hay nhiều giá trị của x, ta chỉ tìm được một giá trị của y. Đúng rồi, không thầy nhớ hồi đó mẹ thầy chửi thầy sao mày ngu thế, giải thích hoài mà không hiểu. Chịu, không sao hiểu được, đúng không? Đọc mãi, hồi đó mình ngu thật, tức là vậy mà cũng ráng mà đọc để mà ráng nghĩ sao để cho hiểu. Cái đó đảm bảo có nghĩ 1000 năm không sao hiểu được. Không hiểu. Nhưng mà sau này thầy mới biết ra là cuộc đời nó có rất nhiều thứ mình không cần hiểu vào cái lúc mình mới đã học, phải không? Cứ từ từ rồi khoa nó sẽ nhừ, tức là đến lớp 9 bắt đầu học cái parabol, thì ra 2 con x chiếu vào một con y. Xong lên lớp cấp 3 bắt đầu hàm số bậc 3 gì đó, phương trình bậc 3 đấy, cong kiểu này, 3 con x chiếu vào một con giá trị y, thì mình hiểu hàm số chính là cái đường đó đó. Thì tới lúc đó mình hiểu, lẽ ra hồi đó mẹ thầy phải giải thích là vẽ mấy cái đó ra đó. Xong rồi nói sau này mày học cái này này, bây giờ không cần nữa, không phải quên cái này đi khỏi em học. Đấy. Thì ok, hồi cứ ráng giải thích càng không hiểu. Đây, sau này cái này người ta dịch ra là gì? Mapping này, chiếu xạ ý niệm. Không biết có ai dịch về không, nhưng mà thầy gọi nó là như vậy. Trong cái bài chiếu xạ ý niệm, conceptual mapping, tại những thứ này mới. Miền ý niệm, còn cái kia gọi hình như là tập giá trị thì phải, tập giá trị. Rồi cũng như hàm số đó thì sao nào? Conceptual metaphors are unidirectional. The mapping is one way. Right? X to Y, tức là từ giá trị từ tập x sang tập y, chứ không có chuyện là từ tập y lại chiếu sang tập x. Unidirectional. Right? So we can say things like this. People are machines, and we don't say machines are people. Okay. Of course, okay, we say machines are people in different sense. You see what I mean? So we say people are machines, right? He's a human calculator. He's just a machine. He has a nervous breakdown. Do we think like this in Vietnamese? Yes, right? The thinking patterns is the same, right? What do we say in Vietnamese? People are machines like this. Làm như cái máy, đấm như cái máy, đấm đá như cái máy, làm việc không ngừng nghỉ, không nghỉ ngơi. Đúng, máy móc đó nó hư hỏng hết rồi. Rồi nó bị trục trặc, nó bị trục trặc. Rồi cái cuối giờ các bạn mệt, các bạn thấy treo rồi, thầy ơi treo máy cái pin, yeah, things like that. Yeah, machines are people, right? Right. So the sources for metaphors are usually things that are concrete, things that are familiar with us. So it can be buildings, it can be animals, plants, weathers, containers, up, down, journeys, okay, nutrients, war. Later on you will read more. And the source domains are things that are abstract. Communication, religion, morality, ideas, theories, love, discovery, technology, change. Now, in his discussions of conceptual metaphor, George Lakoff classified them into three types. Structural metaphors are kind of metaphor that project the conceptual structure from one domain to the other domain. Like love is a journey that we just analyzed a few moments ago. So we can say these things. Right? On the rocks, spinning through for years, go on the track, at the crossroad in the relationship. Orientation metaphor is a kind of metaphor that does not involve mapping of one structure to the other. It's about concepts that are spatially related to each other. So we often see prepositions like up, down, in, out, in front of, behind, yeah, things that involve concepts about being deep or shallow, central or peripheral. All right, and a lot of phrasal verbs in English. Phrasal verb is a very special form of language. I'm quite surprised to see that in French we have very few phrasal verbs, right? Even though they are quite close. English and French are quite close. But in French we have very few phrasal verbs. Now, this is an example of orientational metaphor. I say, you lift me up. It doesn't mean that you are very strong and you do weightlifting. Mean, you make me feel very happy. I appreciate what you say. You lift me up. That boosted my spirits. Yeah. Feeling down. Get down into your expressions. Now, as you see, if you merely provide these phrasal verbs to your students, it can be hard for them if you only ask them to learn by heart. But instead, explain to them that our, visual experience is that when we put more things into something, we see it, rising up, going higher. And when we take them out, they are less, right? We see it going down. It's like a cup of water. When you add water, it goes up. When you take out the water, it's down. So less is down, more is up. And so we can say these things. Put the price up, mean increase the price. Bring the children up, help them to become bigger. Literally. The car speed up, accelerates. Turn the sound up. Turn down the music. Keep the noise down. Prices have come down. Things like that. Now, we also say power is up and weakness is down. And this is a a pattern of thought that is universal, right? So I may say là chút xíu nữa lên gặp thầy hiệu trưởng. Even though now I'm higher than him, okay, he actually physically is on the ground floor and I'm on the third floor, right? Đi lên bộ giáo dục, ngày mai em phải đi lên bộ giáo dục. Even though I'm now living on, let's say, Mù Căng Chải, okay, 3,000 or 4,000 meters okay, higher okay, than Hanoi, right? Instead of saying đi xuống bộ giáo dục, I say đi lên bộ giáo dục, right? Kiện lên trung ương, even though okay, it's actually very low, right? So we say đi xuống cơ sở, even though it may be okay, up, right? Đi xuống cơ sở, right? Power is up, witness is down. All right. I think this. Sorry first. There should be more here. Another kind of metaphor, well, it's missing here, need to transfer to explore, is called ontological metaphor. Okay? And I need your help. Please try to find some examples of ontological metaphor for me. Yeah, go to Google. Now, in ontological, what does ontology mean? I mean object, right? In ontological metaphor, okay, feelings, abstract ideas are conceptualized as an ontology, as an object. For example, the mind is a machine. That's an ontological metaphor. Mind is a machine. Right, so I can say things like I can see new ideas churning out. Okay, see new ideas churning out. He has a screw loose today. I mean, he's strange. He a little bit, unusual. He sleep a cock and make the mistake. Okay, sleep a cock, right? Now, can you do that for me? Please search ontological metaphor. Examples. Can you give me some more? Great. Alright, this page you can find another ontological metaphor. Activity is a container. Right. How did Jerry get out of washing the window? Get out of the verb. Right. Outside of washing the window, what else did you do? Put a lot of energy into washing the window. Get a lot of satisfaction out of washing the window. So you see, abstract ideas, okay, like activities, and conceptualized as an ontology or an object. We do not see a structure from the washing activity mapped onto the structures of the container. So these are the three basic types of conceptual metaphor. I think that's it. Now, time for us to have a little practice. Now, summarize the key claims of conceptual metaphor theories. Can you do it? Yes, you can, as long as you do the reading. Right. Actually, I have done some for you. Now, identify the mappings. Let's see. The following sentences are motivated by the metaphor time is a part. Okay? So, the source domain and the target domain are given to you. And you need to identify the mappings. Now, identify setup mappings that underlie these examples. We are approaching Christmas. Now, in time, right, and apart. Approaching. Approaching. What? Can you think of a name for this mapping? We are approaching. Okay, the school. Approaching the bus. So it's about a distance, okay, to the destinations, right? Distance from the destinations. For example, you can put different labels. It's important to get the concept. It can be the distance to the destination. Graduation is still a long way away. A long way away. What is that mapping? Can you think of a name for it? A long way away. Huh? Yep. Graduation is still a long way away. So, what do you call this mapping? A long way away in a part. Long way away. Not really. Okay, try to think of a good word for it. A long way away. Huh? Time? Now, time is really now. We need to think of, okay, now, let's say in time and then in a part. Okay. In time. A long way away. So a long way. Okay, let's say a long way. Okay, that's the okay in the past. So in time. Okay, what it mapped to in time. The waiting time. Right? The waiting time. A long way away, a long waiting time. Or duration of time. Right? The distance of walking through long apart, and the distance, the duration of time, distance in space, durations in time. Okay? Easter is ahead of us. Ahead of us. Right? So the front side, okay, other part. And in time, what do you call it? The front time. And how about time? The future. Right? We have already talked about the ego model. Right? The future is the front part of the head. Ahead. And the past is behind. Right? Past is behind. When he was a boy, he used to play football over the summer vacations. Now he has to work. Okay, over summer vacations. Right, again, duration of time. Now, how about this? Can you identify the metaphors? And then make a formula like A is B. Target domain is source domain. That marriage is on the rocks. What is it? You have already learned in our previous slide. Marriage is a journey. This one great country has become weaker over the years. Huh? Yeah. Country or nation is a human body, a living body, right? Okay, the nation or the country or an organization is a body or is a living thing. Không, tức là đây là mình cố gắng đặt cho nó một cái metaphor. Trong đó tức là mình cố gắng xác định cái tên của cái mình. A possible, possible source and target domains. Thì trong trường hợp này phải nào? Chúng ta nói cái nation or country is a living thing. Thế vậy cái target ở đây ấy, là chúng ta nói về tổ quốc, nói về quốc gia, đó là cái ý định chúng ta muốn diễn đạt, nhưng mà chúng ta mượn từ cái source, mượn những cái cách diễn đạt, từ ngữ, cách nói, ý niệm từ cái living body. Okay. Cho nên mới có thể nói là weak, strong, great. In defending her point of view, she took no prisoners. Okay. Take prisoner. Từ chiến tranh. Discussions or debate. Argument is war. Take no prisoner có nghĩa là sao? Không bắt tù binh. Gặp là bắn luôn. Không giết luôn. Thua là giết luôn. She is ruthless. Okay. Very aggressive. Okay. Take no prisoner. Không có tha, đúng không? Không chấp nhận hàng binh, hàng là giết luôn. Take no prisoner. Those two are still quite close. Cái này mới là cái nó thực ra nó không khó, mà tại two ở đây thì mình thích hiểu cái gì thì mình đặt cái domain cái đó. I can know two people, two students. Okay. Those two organizations. Right. Those two points of times and two time reference. Depends. right? Relationship is distance. Got a big day ahead of us tomorrow. This is easy. Okay. Future is ahead, right? Past is behind. A different species is going extinct every day. A different species is going extinct every day. Can you think of a metaphor? Yeah. Life is something. Can you think of it? Life. Okay. It's about life. It's about living things. Okay. Also, you can talk about death. Okay. It can be life or it can be death. That's the target. What is the source? Now, you do not need to be perfect. You do not need to be exact. But it can be a process. Okay, that has an end. Okay. Now, by now, I need you to go to the website that George Lakoff put up. Again, at home, please watch the videos of Professor Lakoff, okay, talking about conceptual metaphor. By now, go to cognitive design career options, and that's quite happen. Can you click on that link? It's in the parking lot areas of the course. So go down to cognitive design career options. Right. So this is the website that offer cognitive linguistics, cognitive science courses for students at this university, and they claim to develop the kinds of skills that students need for doing these different jobs. Of course, if you plan later to work for services like advertisement, then your understanding about source domain, target domain, the power of language that we have analyzed, very useful. Can be game design, it can be marketing work, can be missionaries, Peace Corps, language teaching to be sure. Now, another activity that I needed to do before we call it a day is to find examples of conceptual metaphors. Okay, examples of conceptual metaphor. As you see in our discussion today, we have looked at around 10 conceptual metaphors, but actually the list is very long. It can be nearly several hundreds, and with each metaphor, it helps you to enrich your language skills. Uh, So I suggest you now to search conceptual metaphor examples, and I just by chance come up with this article. Okay, in the previous class, it's an article that Lakoff and Johnson submitted to the Journals of Philosophy, and it's long, but it has a lot of examples of the kinds of metaphors that we analyze today. Okay. For example, see, Journals of Philosophy, 1980. Some published later in their famous book, Arguments in Metaphor we live by. You see, with argument is war, we say things like this. Don't agree? Shoot. Okay, argue back. Defend their view. I demolished his argument. Attack every weak point in my arguments. Your claims are indefensible. So, argument is war. Let me try to find out some others. Right? With time is money. You can say these things. Save money, waste money, invest money, spare money, running out money, budgets of time. Work your while, have much time left. Use your time profitably. Lost a lot of time. Okay? Okay, happy is upset is down. Health is up, sickness is down. So we can say he's at the peak of health, right? As to his health, he's way up there, very fit. Fell ill, sinking fast. Good is up, okay. Bad is down. Virtue is up. Depravity is down. Now, what is this metaphor? What do we call it? Yeah, orientational metaphor. Orientational metaphor. Rational is up. Emotional is down. Okay. And what do you call this metaphor? Theories are building. They say, is that the foundation of your theory? Right? The argument is shaky. Everything is shaky. Okay. His argument lacks support. Right? Support for the building. The argument collapsed. the theory exploded. Collapsed completely. The theory stand or fall on the strength of that argument. We need to construct a stronger argument for the theory. Okay? Ideas of food, love is journey, life is game. Right? With this metaphor, we will say things like, I take my chance. I got an egg up my sleeve. Có một con ếch ở trong tay áo. So I have a very good backup plan. Okay. Có một con bài. Right? He holding on the egg. He holding on the the powers in the game. Okay, on the decisive resources, the key resources for the project. He has all the acts like talented people, okay, a lot of funding and things like those. All the acts. If you play your cards right, you can do it. Okay, so I hope you can find more interesting examples. It's appeared because a couple of years ago, George Lakoff put up a website in which he lists all the source domains, all the target domains. So, okay, when you want to look for metaphors about love, for example, so again, love is food, love is a journey, love is war, and then click on that, you can see lots of expressions in English that Lakoff and his student built together. But later on, he kind of, take that away. Okay, it can be, possibly for commercial costs. But by reading about conceptual metaphors, it empowers us to innovate language use, especially in areas that need innovations like advertising. Right? When you need to explain complicated concepts, reading exercises at advanced level for the students, understanding of conceptual metaphor is useful. Well, I think it's time for us to stop here today. Next time we will look at